Here we are again with conversations on God with my friend David.
Are,
Good,
I, are you
we
serious? Have you started already?
just started.
No, I didn't click my thing. All right, so now we're starting.
Now we're starting. Here we are with conversations on God with my friend David. So we've been talking in the last couple of videos of on this A-B process of doing what we think, tending towards God, towards being, and then sort of letting it go and entering into being. Last two videos have been on that. We've been calling it the A/B process. And you had mentioned to me to talk a little bit about frequency, holding high frequency, which of course we can tell what frequency on by our feelings. It's just an indicator. The feelings are uh, nothing more than letting us indicate this frequency that we are on higher or low, uh, pulling us away from receiving information or keeping us in a low frequency, which kind of keeps us feels like it's stuck and dark to me. You want to say more about that and give us some direction?
Yeah, the thing that occurred to me that I had mentioned to you that I wanted to put out there is that when you're when you're holding higher frequency, um, I think I talked about it in some previous videos. Is frequency is a lot like going to a multi-story library where each floor has a level of books commensurate with a certain age. So let's just say the bottom floor, it's for little toddlers and little kids, and no matter you can get a subject on art or science or cooking, and it's kid level. So a cookbook, it would just be very simple recipes. Teach your little 3-year-old to make oatmeal, right? Science, same thing, really. Water puts out fire, just real simple stuff. Then you go to the next level up, take the elevator up. Okay, now this is like maybe intermediate school. And everywhere you go, language, cooking, science, it's all intermediate. And then every floor you go up has increasingly sophisticated levels of information. So I think frequency is a lot like that. Whatever frequency you're at, uh, you're not just broadcasting at that frequency, but you're receiving at that frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I definitely believe that this is there's a battle right now for the to own the human consciousness field,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the human conscious. So the battle is always between left hand path and right hand path. Right hand path is service to others. Left hand path is service to self. So those that are controlling the left hand path, they basically they just want to entrap and enslave all human thought,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can say you could see that in like the news that's always promoting discord and fear and hatred and violence towards each other and racism. They're
Mm-hmm.
just keeping everybody fearful, angry,
Yeah. Or
resentful,
the new movies that are out there that are depicting the end of the world in very
yeah,
realistic
keep everybody
scenarios.
terrified. And this is one of the ways they got so many people to take the COVID vaccine. They just
Oh, for sure.
they just skewed all the numbers. Flu disappeared. Flu disappeared off the face of the planet. There was
The
no flu cases. It
cure to
was
the
all
flu. It's
right. It
fantastic.
was, yeah, right. And every death was COVID. Even
Yes.
if
Oh,
people didn't die of COVID, if they died with COVID, oh, that was registered. So it served to terrify a lot of people.
oh yeah.
And then when hydroxychloroquine came out and ivermectin, they go, oh no, that's just that'll kill you. That'll kill you. The only thing
Yeah.
that's going to help you is the jab, right? So they were able to drive a lot of people through fear into taking the jab, right? So okay, so this is so you can say that's left hand path. They use fear to control, take away your free will, right?
Mhm.
Not give you information and let you think about it and let you make a sensible decision, just drive you with fear or force or whatever. That's left hand path. So the
How
right
does that
hand path,
how does that fit though with our conversation of resonance? Like how
oh, it doesn't at all. No, I'm kidding.
I'm just
So
trying to connect the lines there because
so
it's the
for
same
those,
thing.
yeah, so for those that, let's just say they had a little more knowledge and they didn't become fearful, right? They were able to stop and cut through the stampeding of the herd and go, well, let's take a look. Well, actually, turns out ivermectin won a Nobel Prize years ago. Is able to do tremendous things for helping people, antiparasitic. They've been using it for years, extremely safely. Same with ivermectin, or same with hydroxychloroquine. Been using it for years and years and years for autoimmune diseases. One of the best safety profiles out there. So for those that weren't fearful, had enough knowledge that they could actually examine information and not just swallow the propaganda. They go, oh, yeah, well, actually, I think that sounds like that might be helpful. So there's lots of people that use things like hydroxychloroquine and zinc effectively and were able to help themselves prevent getting COVID or reducing the severity dramatically. Joe Rogan was a great case where he had enough alternative medicine doctors with good information that when he got COVID, he didn't take the jab. He was over it in like 2 days. And of
Mm,
course, they immediately tried to character assassinate him, say, "Oh, he's taking horse tranquilizers." And I forgot what city it was, like in the Midwest, they showed long lines of people waiting to get in because they had taken horse tranquilizers and they were
the horse
poisoned.
dewormer.
Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
all, yeah,
Yeah.
horse dewormer. It was just all completely fabricated. But for those that weren't fearful because they had enough knowledge, you were able to make a much better decision, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. When your frequency is low, either through hate or fear or resentment or whatever, you are actually more easily manipulated because it turns off the advanced frontal lobes of the human being. But what happens is then you receive information at that level.
Mm,
Thoughts of that frequency are received much better when you're tuned to that radio station.
mm.
And so we could say the mind is very much like a radio. You can tune it to whatever frequency exists. So you can let people tune down your frequency when you buy into all the fear and the anger. And so there, through buying into that, you tune down your frequency. Now the thoughts that come to you are on that frequency.
Yeah.
The options that occur to you are on that frequency. It's like you've gone to a low level of that library, and every book you pick up is at a low level. Or on the other hand, if you tune your frequency up, the information that comes to you, the thoughts that come to you are of a much higher vibratory rate. So
Mm,
let's just say you're a pretty low frequency, you're having trouble with somebody at work, and they're pretty powerful or pretty scary, and so, well, I can either quit or shoot them. That's the only punch them in the face or hire somebody to punch them in the face.
hmm.
These are the solutions that are coming to you when you're tuned into that frequency.
Hmm.
Whereas maybe if you tune in a much higher frequency, you have different alternatives. It's like, well, I don't have to be afraid of this guy, right? I can just do my job better. I can form some alliances with people in charge where they say I'm doing really, really good work, right? And so you get other options that will occur to you because you're holding a higher frequency. So by practicing higher frequency, it not only is more pleasant, right? You have more joy, you have more peace, you have more love, but the thoughts then that can come into you are usually of a much higher level. So you're not, right now, people that are holding low frequency, they're under constant stress
Mm,
because they're receiving the thoughts that are out there in the human consciousness field at that frequency. And it's a constant assault on your peace.
I found that that there's some things that we can seemingly control when things are uncontrollable. Like when I'm angry, right in the middle of being angry, I have a hard time not being angry, or fearful. I have a hard time just not being fearful. But I can control my breath, first of all. And when I'm angry, my breath pattern and when I'm fearful, my breath patterns are notable. They're consistently similar to those emotions for me. They're more shallow, or they're um, like rapid, and they're all kinds of interesting patterns evolve with my breath, as well as my focus. Like my focus tends to be outward. It tends to be like zeroed in, like a target, or everywhere. Like with fear, it's just like it's everywhere, right? And like, I can't even get away from it. Uh, And so slowing down my breath on both of those, taking brief breaths and bringing my attention into my heart, or at least into my center line, like we've been talking about, uh, both of which seem to be helpful with my resonance.
Yeah.
It raises it. So, I mean, are those good methods? How
Well,
does that fit into frequency?
I think there's all kinds of different methods. You just got to find some that work for you, right? So for me, what works for me the best is to uh, I find that when I start slipping into a lower frequency, it's because my vision of reality has gotten small,
Mm.
like politics, right? It's
Yeah,
like whatever side of politics you're on, the other side is destroying your country, right?
yeah.
You tend to get really, really upset.
The
And so what are you going to
enemy.
do? Well, let's
Yeah,
let's
kill
let's
the enemy.
yeah, right. So So when I find myself getting pulled into a smaller viewpoint, if I expand it, right? And one of the best that I've ever had, I've mentioned before, is from my teacher that everything is from God for your higher good, right? Or everything is
Mm.
a blessing. So when I calm myself down a little bit, about that, and especially politics, and I say, okay, listen, this is all God is allowing it because it's bringing about an awakening of consciousness that will help move this planet in the right direction, right? So it's like, we talked about uh, privately the other day that there's I don't even know what they call it, where they take a plastic board and put it over a speaker and then sprinkle sand on it, right? And then
Mm.
you turn on a certain frequency of the speaker, and all of a sudden the sand starts bouncing around and it forms this beautiful pattern. And but when you raise that frequency to the next proper frequency, all of a sudden the sand all starts bouncing around like crazy. Then it forms a different pattern, right? Have you ever seen that?
I have.
Yeah. So to raise the frequency even more, it goes, the sand all bounces around, it dissolves and forms a new pattern. So what I realized is that's exactly what happens when the human consciousness field and the planetary consciousness field is shifting. And in this case, it's shifting to a higher frequency. That
Cymatics. I looked it up. It says cymatics.
Maddox, yeah, it's fascinating. So I realized that's exactly what's happening. The planet has been of a third density frequency. It's now shifting into fourth density frequency, and all the humans are given the opportunity to shift into that fourth density frequency too. But between the lower frequency to the higher frequency, there's chaos.
Hmm.
Chaos. It's not like it goes from one pattern, then boop, the perfect next pattern.
Right.
It all just breaks down,
Yeah, yeah.
and the sand's just shifting around, and
Right.
boom, this beautiful new pattern.
Beautiful pattern, beautiful pattern. Ah, it's like the middle of a tornado, and then
Right,
bing, beautiful
right,
pattern.
right, right. So that's it. So I realized that's what we're experiencing. We're experiencing the chaos as we shift from the lower frequency to the higher frequency. But it also, what I realize is as we hold higher frequency consciousness, it helps the shift to go sooner and smoother.
Mm-hmm.
Your human consciousness contributes to the human consciousness field. And that to me is the golden age that's coming, is as this planet shifts into high frequency consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
One of one of my teacher's more advanced students said that my teacher took him in spirit into the golden age and let him look around. And he asked him, well, what do you see that's different? He said, I felt that everyone had love for everyone else like they're your dearest family.
Mm-hmm.
There was no longer this tribe, this group, that group. Everyone, even to people they didn't know, they were extending this
Mm-hmm.
love. So I realized that's really it. And that's a huge part of why we're even doing these podcasts.
Yeah.
Because the more people we can help shift into this higher frequency and hold it on a more and more regular basis, the
Mm-hmm.
easier the transition will be to this new frequency, this new beautiful pattern that's waiting to set up. But what's really interesting is just as when you shift from the old frequency to the new frequency on the cymatics or whatever the heck that word was he said, the old pattern has to break down. It has to break, it breaks it down. The new frequency breaks down the old pattern. And I realize that's really the struggle on this planet right now between those that have held the old frequency and the old power structures and the old financial structures and the old medical structures, all these pharmaceutical companies and the big agri and the money and the international, the world banking, there, the military industrial complex, all these old structures that have been set up are starting to break down. And it's breaking down because the new frequency that's rising on this planet, like the rising of the sun, it's like the sunrise, it's coming up everywhere. That people of sincere heart and pure intention want to have a more loving relationship, a more connected relationship, a more healthy relationship, a more spiritual existence where we're not just having to just go to work and do a job you hate doing just because you got to pay the rent and you don't have time for your family or your friends, right?
Yeah.
People people are tired of the hostility and the violence. People, you just, it's so funny. You just look as a chiropractor. I see strangers constantly, right? Constantly strangers. But when they walk through the door, they're not strangers to me. I feel like they're part of my family. And they feel that when they come in. And people, the moment you treat people with that love and respect and familiarity, people just boom, open up. They're willing, yeah, boom, yeah, willing to be family and relate to
Mm-hmm.
me like family. And people are ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
People are ready for that, right? So I think uh I think the more than people just practice seeing God in others, right? And being compassionate and understanding and all that, I think you just see people blossom, just people blossom. You can go into a group of people and you start talking like this. A lot of times everyone's frowning or whatever, and you start talking like
Mm-hmm.
this. A lot of times frown stops and you start seeing people smile and their eyes light up. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
soon 98% of the room, everybody is like, yes, 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 that's exactly what we want,
Yeah.
whether we realize it or not, right?
Right.
So I think this is the golden age is dawning. It's dawning. So these practices help you reject the fears, reject the resentments and the angers, and just start practicing that high frequency, and you are participating
Yeah.
in shifting this planet to. My teacher said my teacher said, he said, this golden age is coming, and he said it will be wonderful beyond your wildest imagination.
Mm,
Yeah, so I got a pretty wild imagination. So if it's even beyond that, I'm
that's
pretty
true.
excited.
It's pretty scary.
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty excited. So hopefully I
Hey,
make it through.
well, and along with that, and I guess saying the same thing in a different way, it brings a lot of significance for me anyway, to know that uh, increasing my resonance and loving this part of God in front of me that could have been an enemy, right? A person that could have been my enemy, and now seeing them as an expression of God and seeing this terrible situation as just my opportunity to love and my opportunity to raise my own frequency and really to maybe pass a test is a narrow way to look at it, but to keep on evolving as in my own expression, and it makes every little thing that used to be sucky and dragging down into something that increases my frequency or raises my frequency, and it makes it all wonderful. It makes this a humdrum life really wonderful.
And that's what my teacher would say. He said, once you reach this understanding, he said, then the difficulties in life, you start to actually have a sense of adventure towards it. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it's like, if you play sports or you're lifting weights, it's like, you go in and you tell your workout partner, so I'm shooting for a new bench press record today,
yeah,
yeah, so you get psyched up and he's psyched up for you and encourage you. And if you hit
yeah,
it, man, you just high as hell for a week. It's like, yes. And,
yeah.
and if you miss it, it's like, okay, well, I'll train again for another 4 weeks and we'll try again in a month. Right. So
Yeah.
it, it
I,
it's,
I work with different people trying to get different financing, and these brokers call me, and I get angry at them because I think they're dumb. And then
yeah,
I think about it, and then I'm like, oh man, missed my opportunity. And then
yeah,
I'll text him back or I'll call him back, and I'll be like, I apologize. Will you give me another chance?
yeah. Well, exactly. And so my teacher would say, he said, life is a game, play it. This
Yeah,
is the game. This is the game. This is the game. I mean, people understand it in sports, right? That when you got really good opponents, man, you got to work harder every time they beat you, every time they play. And so, you've trained with your buddies and you've analyzed it. And it's like, now you come back, you finally beat them. It's like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, it's the same thing spiritually. The way this is set up for us in this classroom is anything that drops your frequency is a challenge by the creator and saying, okay, so drop your frequency. Can you raise your frequency and figure out how it dropped you? So next time it doesn't drop you again.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so in a sense, you can say it's that cymatics. What was the name of that term?
Cymatics. I don't know. That's what I just looked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like if you can raise your frequency in a very real way, it's rearranging new patterns in your consciousness.
right.
Right. So, and that's what you begin to experience. And you experience these new higher patterns in your consciousness as a greater feeling of connectedness, greater
Yep.
feeling of patience, love, courage, peace. Right. So you begin to experience new higher patterns in your consciousness.
Cymatics, the patterns created through frequency, visual representations created by frequency.
Yeah, so for people listening to it, if you look it up and you see like a little movie of it, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing. But I realize that's a powerful representation of what's going on the planet and what goes on with you as an individual of the patterns of energy within your consciousness as you raise your frequency.
Yep. And if anybody has to wonder when their lesson's going to come or how to get it, all you got to do is be alive, right?
Yeah, these days,
There's
yeah,
there's no
these days
missing it.
it's constant. It's
Yeah.
constant.
Yeah.
It's constant. So you can look at it as like, oh man, everything's so hard. Or you could say, oh my God, what a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
What a wonderful opportunity to everything that comes that kind of blows your high, right? To dig into it. And really it's a judgment. It'll always boil down to a judgment that you're judging it less than God and
Yeah.
less than worthy of love, right? So if you take this concept as a game and a challenge, then it can be fun.
Yeah,
Then it can
it
be
is
fun.
good.
Yeah.
It really is.
Right. And I'll refer back to some of the powerful techniques that Jesus gave, right? Don't judge, right? Or the judge, I would say, do judge, but judge this too is God. This too, this person is also a piece of God, right? That's the
Mm-hmm.
judgment that raises your frequency. So judge them worthy of love and a piece of God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't judge. What else? Forgive, right?
Mm-hmm.
As you forgive, you're forgiven. As you forgive, you're forgiven, because there's just the oneness. If you're unforgiving towards that person, you've actually lowered your frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So it's what appears to be someone separate from you is not. It's a piece of you. So forgiveness, right? He said, "What you do the least of my brethren, you see to me, you do to me," right? That's another way of saying, see God in everyone, right? So he's saying, see me in everyone. Where you do the least human being, the human being you consider a piece of garbage, he goes, what you're doing to them, you're doing to me, right? So it's another way of saying, see God in everyone. See God in
Mm-hmm.
everyone, right? And then uh, one of the easiest ways on how to behave towards people, treat others the way you would like to be treated in that situation. Simple. So these are all simple, powerful concepts of consciousness, how to raise your frequency. So, so you can take Christianity and just take a bunch of laws and do's and don'ts and beat people over the head with it. Or you can remember what Jesus said about raising your frequency,
Mm-hmm.
forgiveness, love, seeing God in everyone,
Mm-hmm.
not judging them less than worthy of love, less than worthy of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Don't ever judge them. Not, I don't care how evil somebody is, they're still a piece of God,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you can see that in them and still love your creator in this particular form, just understand they're at a low frequency. But you
Yeah.
know what? You probably were at some point too.
Yeah.
And how would you have liked to be treated at that point? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So treat them appropriately, appropriately remembering they're a piece of God at a low vibrational, right?
That's good stuff. We're out of time.
Yep, we're out of time. Right?
Thank you again, David.
Thank you.
Can't wait till next one.
Yeah, man.
Hold, please.